Hi there, and welcome back to another part of the Steal the Skies character reference, lore reference series. I don't know what to call these. They're just gonna have a name of some kind. So, first thing that I want to go into, actually lore-wise, is Magick. Introduced in Final Fantasy XII, the source of magic for Ivalice is called Mist. Mist is a sort of permeating energy that can be sensed and seen by specific species, unless there's a lot of it, that you basically suck up and then use it for whatever magical purposes you have for Mist. And so Mist permeates throughout all the land. There are certain areas called Jagds. Jagds are areas of the world where Mist is so strong, so potent, that it's just everywhere. Sometimes it's so thick that you can see it, sometimes it's not. And it's just different from each area from each Jagd to each other Jagd. And this is spelled Jagd, which is weird, but hey, you know, weird fantasy stuff. And so when there is so let me get a little bit closer. So, Jagds, they basically overload the senses in some species, some areas, but for most areas, you can find special gemstones, special rocks that can basically harbor and hold Mist, and that you can use its magical properties no matter where you are. Quotation, asterisk, major asterisk. These are called Magicite. So Magicite stones, kind of like batteries that hold Mist, and you can utilize it for specific things. For like electricity, and more importantly for this campaign, Skystones. Specific Magicite that are called Skystones are used to basically give airships their lift, while there is another form, either air or fuel, that gives an airship its propulsion. For the vast majority of Magicite, you do not want to take them into a yacht, because Magicite will take the mist that's around them for its purposes, and if you take Magicite into a place that has too much mist, it will overload the Magicite and make it shatter. And so, if you were to take an airship using a regular Skystone into a yacht, then it will make the Skystone shatter. And then the one piece of equipment that airship needed to stay in the air is now gone. It exploded into a bunch of pieces. And so your airship can't fly over yachts. Airships can't. And so, for the vast majority of time when there was airships, before Final Fantasy XII, yachts caused a giant problem. And so, because you can't travel over them, and they're usually large stretches of land that is hard for people to travel, whether they're sand seas, giant mountain ranges, thick forests, stuff like that. Those are usually where yachts are, just because that's where the mist is just gathering. Kinda with the wind, but not really with the wind. So in Final Fantasy XII, they used the Arcadian Empire and Dracula Laboratories used Jagds, found Nethicite that they decided to study, harness its power, figure out what's going on, and to which they figured out how to manufacture Nethicite. Nethicite itself is a special kind of Magicite that was created from Acuria, or basically demigods, to give to important people hundreds of years ago, to basically do their bidding and be like, all right, time for you to rule the world for us. Ha ha. And so, there was still some Nethicite that was lying around. The Evil Empire for Final Fantasy XII got a hold of it, and this specific, and Nethicite is just basically a giant, a bigger, more powerful Magicite battery. It can harness going over Jagds, and it can produce so much more power just as it is, and in a destructive manner. There was the I don't have the clip up, but basically if you try to play with a piece of Nethicite and to the point where it doesn't break, but your tools can, it can definitely basically work as an atom bomb. And there is an entire city and section. I don't know if this is showing. Yeah, it's showing up. Over here is the Necro Hall of Naburis, where one person used Nethicite to just level entire city and entire region of the world. So, because that's dangerous, they destroyed Nethicite. Clearly, that was the right choice to do. But Dracula Laboratories was able to manufacture Nethicite, which is nowhere near as strong as deifacted or natural Nethicite. And they are able to use it to cross Jagds. So, in the world of Steal the Skies, after 709, I think it was like 709, on the calendar year, people were able to just cross over Jagds just back and forth willy-nilly like it was nothing. And it was great. It was fantastic. Except, lore-wise, let me grab this. This big continent right here, isn't in any of the game lore or anything like that. That was definitely filled in by me. It's called Rekaresh. It was absolutely destroyed. Just absolutely obliterated, thanks to the destructive powers of manufactured Nethicite, and Auracite, which also came up in Final Fantasy XII, the Revenant Wings, which is kind of a soft sequel. Like, it fits as a sequel, but also technically they said that they didn't really want it to be a sequel, but also it is kind of exactly like a sequel. It's interesting. Anyways, so Auracite was introduced in that game within this specific setting. Auracite was is a thing in Final Fantasy Tactics, but Auracite basically kind of a lot like Nethicite. So with Auracite, Nethicite, manufactured Nethicite, that entire continent was destroyed. So because of that, was it this? No. I'm also going through all of my maps left and right. I don't have all of them up individually. So because of that, because an entire continent was destroyed thanks to manufactured Nethicite, all of these countries, Brecca, Oscaria, Stretton, Gillen, Trebithica, Raspa, Holiodorn Empire, Vidro, Waswar, Rosarian Empire, Revencrag, Galtia, and the Arcadian Empire all came together to basically sign agreement accords that say we're not going to use anything that's more powerful than just the Skystones that we had been using for hundreds of years, because while it's nice being able to travel over yachts, it makes things a lot easier, that the continent destruction in the hands of individuals is not a good thing to have. So they signed the accords, this Rekresh Safety Accords is what they're called, and basically reverted everything back to pre-Final Fantasy 12 in terms of being able to sail the skies. So because of that, the world is basically split into 3 major sections based on major yacht chains. Set with minor sections. The major sections involve the Arcadian Empire and Galtia in one giant section here, because there is a yacht chain that goes from here all the way down through the Rosarian Empire and then all the way back up. Basically, the Rosarian Empire is its own section, and there's east of Rosarian Empire and west of the Rosarian Empire as the 3 major different sections. Brecca has its own chain of yachts, just separating it from the rest of the western sections, just because there's a yacht up here, giant mountain range here, and so, yeah. Basically, the world was split up, and there are kind of like secret police, the judges that make sure and maintain that people don't have those very powerful stones still. I think that's everything magic related for now. For now, that's everything magic related. We'll get into... Actually, maybe we should talk about cities? Yeah, we'll talk about cities. Why not? Let's do it. One take, baby. We're going to do this in one take. Let's talk about cities. So, you have... there are 3 categories of cities in Steal the Skies. Let's see. There is... Let's pull this up. So you're going to have 3 categories of cities. 1 are cities that are so small that I haven't written them yet. Cities that are so small and within yachts that they don't have aerodromes to land airships, and they don't have any they don't have palings, and they don't really have any way to get to them by airship. So they're naturally going to be a little bit smaller, but big enough to have, or big enough or registered with the Hunting Guild, which we'll get into in a future video. There are lots of small little hamlets and villages that dot between all of these big cities that are not big enough to have registered hunting guilds with them. And so they are not listed because they're not places that players will go to get a job. The next next type of city are ones that are big enough to have are not in yachts, so you can land near them, but they aren't big enough to have aerodromes and palings to be and considered as large cities. So no real checkpoints. They're just they're bigger than places that can't have airships going to them, but they're not cities. Next up are the big cities. And so cities are going to be huge. They have an aerodrome or a skyport, basically, and so you can dock your airship there. You can get keep it in a safe loading bay. Cities are very unique in the fact that they are basically weapon-free areas, and there are checkpoints going into all of the cities, and these checkpoints will have will check for weapons, any black market goods, stuff like that. Make sure that everything is in order. Basically the TSA. And so with that, they'll and so because the large cities, they have large population, they for convenience sake, I do have each of these large cities following those same rules. I could have it be that they follow completely different rules, that they're all unique, but that is a lot for me to manage, and I have all of my fingers in other puddings at this point in time. So, we'll just make that simple. And so, yeah, so they all have TSAs going into the city, not going into the aerodrome, because you could just pack up your adventuring weapons and stuff like that into your airship and just leave. But once you are inside the city, it would be no weapons, and you can't do any magic. The reason why you can't do any magic is because the palings that I was mentioning earlier are basically large towers that suck up the mist of the city and use it as a giant shield over the city itself. So only specific types of organic life can come through only specific organic life can go through the shield above. And since there's no mist in the city itself, you can't really do magic inside the city. And so that is basically how they make sure that people are nerfed trying to get inside. And that's everything magic related. So, I mean, there's the rules of the FFRPG, but that's everything lore magic related. We went over Mist, Jagds, Magicite, Skystones, Nethicite, both deifacted and manufactured. Brief thing of Auracite. We'll probably get into that more in the campaign, but like I said, they're basically just it's basically just Nethicite with different properties. And cities. So yeah, this that should be everything for this episode. I'll talk to you all on the next one. Goodbye.